Welcome into Game Day Live. It's a big one here for the Winnipeg Sea Bears. I'm Joey Slattery. Thank you so much for tuning in. Give this a like, give it a subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you have those notifications on. This one's a bit of a weird one. It's a massive game. They're in Vancouver here tonight. Was supposed to be an earlier day game. We'll get into that in just a second. But main thing is that first place is on the line. There's no tiebreakers. This is an outright game for the first in the West, which means home advantage right throughout the Western Conference playoffs. Championship's a little different this year because it's a best-of-3 series, so the lowest seed between the West and the East will play the first game, and the top seed will get games 2 and 3, a.k.a. the championship game. There's a lot to get to here. Oh, we got some people in chat already. What's up, Cam? Tied, stat guy tie, but are they actually in Vancouver sitting on a tarmac? We will get to that in just a second here, but let's get it all queued up. This is a game that was supposed to be played at 2:30 our time. It was supposed to be an earlier game. It was supposed to be nationally televised on CBC. That is no longer the case. So if you were planning to watch on CBC, that is no longer an option. It'll be on CBC Gem. It'll be on CBL Plus, and of course on YouTube, CBC Sports and CBL YouTube page. But this has been a weird one here for the Winnipeg Sea Bears. They left yesterday. They were supposed to be in Vancouver yesterday. There were travel disruptions that were out of the control of everyone. Obviously, you likely have heard WestJet strike took place last night at midnight Mountain Time. So 1 o'clock our time here in Winnipeg. I don't believe that had anything to do with it initially. It might have in terms of rescheduling, but they were on the plane for a really long time. They flew into Alberta. I believe it was Edmonton and then Calgary, and then had to go back to Edmonton. They had about 30 minutes between. I think they left at like 2 o'clock our time, and I can't remember what time they got in last night, but there was a 30-minute break where they weren't on a plane, but they were on a plane for hours, had to stay the night in Alberta. They left this morning. They arrived in Abbotsford at about 11 o'clock our time, so 9 o'clock Pacific time for what is now a 2:30 start. It was supposed to be 2:30 our time. Now it'll be 4 o'clock our time. So that poses some issues or some concerns in its own. That's not easy to get around, that's for sure. If any of you have traveled before and had to, you heard of bus legs, same thing with the plane. They do not fly charter. They fly commercial like you and I would. So there are no perks like there would be in, say, the NBA or, other, probably only the NBA. I'm not sure how many other leagues are flying private or chartering jets, but this has been a trying time. I think in many cases, though, it's a good time to have this adversity in a weird way. I think there's a little added motivation here. If anything, it's a reminder of just how important it might be to get home advantage, because if you're playing at home, you don't have to worry about this. So if there's any more disruptions, you wouldn't have to worry about it. You would just be playing at home, and that would be the other team's problem. So maybe this is a time for, the Sea Bears to think, you know what? I don't want to go through this again. So why don't we just, get home advantage, win today, and you don't have to worry about it, because if you win today, there's no tiebreaker. This is straight up. We will get to that in just a second. I'm just making sure that we're live on all of our platforms here. Forgot to get this going beforehand, but it's going to be a tough go. They got there this morning. They're off the plane, getting right to the gym, trying to get into their routines that are all disrupted anyway. I was talking to the Vancouver, everybody's favorite reporter, actually, Chris Wiggins, who was supposed to be, get this, you might want to watch the game tonight. He was supposed to be doing the sidelines, and he always does a great job on the sidelines for CBC National, except this time, because of everything that happened, it's not on national anymore. So they don't have a play-by-play crew. Chris Wiggins is making his play-by-play debut on the stream tonight. They've got a makeshift cast, but I've heard they have the dome truck there. So what that means is, with the dome truck, it will be a very, very good quality in terms of better than what we're used to in Vancouver for sure. So Yeah, it's going to be a strange one. Everybody's kind of scrambling. It's crazy to think that a national game is not going to be played on national TV, despite the scheduling, the promotion. This is the last national game before they they had this, I think, officially put out. I can't remember the time exactly, but it was late last night when the official statement went out. So this is some adversity that no one saw coming. I didn't see it coming. The Sea Bears didn't see it coming. This was very much in flux. I think the hope was it was just going to work out, and they were going to get there, despite, I think it was weather initially. But yeah, no, they were on there for a long time. A long day for the guys. Another early morning after a late night yesterday. So we will see how they go and how they respond here today. But not an easy one for them for sure. But it is a important one. It is a battle for the West. Let's take a look at it right now. I will share this screen for you all to see how this shapes up, because last time we spoke, we didn't really know how it was going to go, right, in terms of the last pregame that we did. But if you take a look at those Western standings here, I pulled them up from the website. Vancouver and Winnipeg have the exact same record. So it is just winner outright. There's no tiebreakers. Whoever wins this game, no complications, is first in the West. So they will play. Both teams are playing at home on Thursday. So they both have that home game. It's if both were to win that game, the winner of this game will host the conference final, which would be huge, right? I mean, Winnipeg has never been to a conference final other than the one, I shouldn't say that, they were in last year's conference final, but it was a bye, but they've never won a playoff game. So to win a playoff game at home, and I know you guys are going to be out there in full force on on Thursday next week, and it's going to be a ton of fun, but they got to get that game. As fun as it's going to be, I know everybody wants to get to that conference final and that final series, right? I know everybody's dreaming of having that series with Scarborough. We'll see what happens here. What's up, Smirkio? What's up, Jimmy? It's Smirkio saying if we lose, I blame it on that. Cam brings up a good point. They are professional. I hope they can just focus. And Cam, you're onto something here. It is difficult even for a pro. I'm going to put it out there. This is not part of their routine. They're not used to this. This is going to be a tough one for them to get around. I think once they're on the floor, it'll be fine. But it's that, they woke up early, another time zone crossed. You're not in the hotel. You're not getting your normal breakfast. You're right in the gym. I don't know what they've done. If they had time to grab something to eat, or if they had something brought in, and they're probably figuring out that out as they go. They landed in Abbotsford, so I think it's a little closer to get to Langley, which is huge, as opposed to having to come in from Vancouver. It's a holiday, so I don't think traffic would have been too bad. But still, it's just, if you take whatever win you can at this point. But yeah, this is going to be a tough one. I want to show you now how the teams stack up. This is a very tightly contested matchup. When you look at points here, per game, doesn't matter. I'll flip it for you just to show you. Whether you go per game or total points, Vancouver is the top scoring team in the league by a small margin, less than 20 points. The points against, though, working in the favor of Winnipeg. Their defense has been good. They've been letting up more points in the last little bit. 89 points. They're still the lowest. Montreal is the second here at 89.5. Big game for them too, because Edmonton's playing Ottawa tonight. So this is a big night for the CEBL, because Montreal will be watching to see where everybody in Winnipeg is watching to see if they get home advantage. Montreal's watching for their playoff lives. So yeah, they have no control of their future. It's all up to Ottawa. But you look at Winnipeg right here, 89 points that they're allowing, 96.8, just a shade below Vancouver. But the differential is what's crazy. And I think I have to go back to the standings to show the differential here. Just bear with me as I shift over. But you look at the differential right here, 179 plus 179. Look at the rest. The only one that comes close is Scarborough, and they're 140, almost a full 40 points, 39 points more than Scarborough, who is 19-4. That is how this season went. This is going to be a contested matchup. It's going to be a new team. That's the other thing too. Dominic Parolin, not expected to be in the game. He had a massive game that game against Winnipeg last time here, where he was basically face guarding Moon, making his life incredibly difficult. He was very physical. I keep referencing that one charge that sticks out to me, where he gets Simon right in the chest, and Simon embraces it. Good for him, but it was definitely a message that was sent through that. But he's gone. As far as we know, Karnik is not in the lineup either. So they're missing some bodies. Shamar Givens is in the lineup, and he was a tough matchup for them as well. But there's another guy that's going to be in the lineup. I'll let you read it. Yeah, Mitch Creek. Mitch Creek's back in the lineup here today. So this will qualify him for the playoffs as well. So he was on the active roster. I know it's so confusing because you can't see it when you're looking at the stat sheets, but when we get our stats, and Stat Guy Ty knows this, when they get their lineups, there's an active roster, but you don't necessarily have to be there to be on the active roster. I know it sounds weird, but it ties up the spot, right? So what happens was they put him on the active roster, even though he wasn't there physically, but he still gets the qualification. He has to play in 3 games. So all he has to do today is step on the floor. And I'm imagining he'll be starting if it hasn't been announced already. I haven't seen the starting lineups yet, but I imagine he'll be starting. Kyle Julius is in attendance, the general manager, former head coach of the Vancouver Bandits. These guys are fired up, man. I know they don't have their guys that really put it to Winnipeg last game here at home, but Mitch Creek's a culture driver, and Winnipeg. And the best part about this, actually, before we even go on about the Mitch Creek thing, how amazing is it to see the league is in its 8th year. There have been 7 MVP awards handed out. 5 of those are on the floor tonight. 3 for Xavier Moon, 1 for Teddy, and the reigning CEBL MVP, Mitch Creek. And there was a moment where we thought maybe Tajay Moore teased that trip to Vancouver, where we thought maybe he's going to sneak in, but no, that would be too much. That's not going to happen. But this is still going to be a phenomenal showdown. I know these guys are motivated. I talked to a few of them yesterday. The frustration of the flight, using it as motivation, right? Going in here knowing that, this game, I thought this game might be pushed to Monday, just because it is the last game of the season. May give you more time to prepare, but nope, it is happening today, delayed. No more national TV. If you're just tuning in, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe. Keep those notifications on. But if you're just tuning in, this game is not on national TV. It is going to be on your typical stream. You can watch it on CBC Sports YouTube, CBL YouTube, CBC Gem, and CEBL Plus. Our boy Chris Wiggins is going to have, get this, the play-by-play call. I'm looking forward to that. He's going to do a great job. But yeah. Oh, sorry, XO204. Any breaking news on the reigning MVP Mitch Creek? Will he be joining the Bandits this afternoon? You got your answer, buddy. He is going to be there for sure. Yeah. I don't know what I said here anymore, but of course, Stat Guy Ty, keep me accountable. I love it. Smirkio says their defense has been horrible the past couple of games. Sure, and that's one thing, Smirkio. Thanks for bringing that up, because that was one thing that Mike Rainbow had been talking about. Is these games, they can't depend on just outscoring guys or teams. They can't depend on scoring, 115 points, 112 points. Like, this game very well might be in the 80s. I don't anticipate a blowout. You never know. But I think this is a team that their defense does have to be on point, as Cam says, it has to be on point, because with Mitch Creek, Mitch Creek is such a phenomenal basketball player. Like, to me, there are 4 names in the league that really kind of are on the upper echelon, and it's Xavier Moon, Teddy Allen, Khalil Ahmad, and Mitch Creek. Right? Like, and those are all MVPs in some way, shape, or form. Ahmad had the CBL playoffs MVP last year. But like these are guys that aren't journeymen. They played in different leagues, but they are stars anywhere they go. They're not just CEBL stars. Like, they've had such an impact on this league. Their name carries beyond this league. Even if you don't root for the team, you likely know those names, and that's for a reason, right? People, like, you think about it, all of you Winnipeg fans who probably started really following the league or even knew about the league when Winnipeg announced the team. Didn't take long for you to understand who Xavier Moon was, right? You saw the trophy, the MVP trophy, the Big X. He was a legend, in the first few years of the league, 3-time MVP, 2-time champion. And then Mitch Creek came with that same kind of vibe, right? Like, he just played on the Australian national team. Australia's basketball program is phenomenal, right? Like, it's like, it basically goes like, there's France, Spain, USA, Canada, Australia, like, that's all like the upper echelon of the international programs. And Mitch Creek is a massive star in Australia. John McTavish, what's up, John? Thanks for tuning in. If they can lock down like they did in target time versus Ottawa, they'll be okay. Further to your point, John, that's what they were doing so good at home in the first even more than half of the season. Like, their defense was great. They didn't waste time. They didn't play with their food, as they like to say. That was my favorite quote from Tanya McKay, the former head coach of the University of Winnipeg Westman women's team. It's finish your dinner, right? And they did that against Ottawa. And you saw Ottawa, I think that might be the last game where you see the track meet. And they better not get in a track meet tonight, because we saw what happened last time they got in a track meet with Vancouver. If you let Shamar Givens get on the run, this is going to be a tough run for the Sea Bears. And obviously Teddy Allen. Apparently Teddy Allen got there ahead of time, as did Mike Rainbow. So apparently they were not affected, or at least if they were, they found a way to Vancouver before everybody else. So Teddy Allen needs to have a Teddy game. I think the timing for that poor offensive performance on was it Friday or whenever the last game was? I know Stat Guy Ty's going to tell me. All my days are mixed up. But the last game in Ottawa, or against Ottawa, I that was an anomaly. We haven't seen it this year. We hadn't seen it since 2024, as Stat Guy Ty pointed out that in the post game show. In like more than 2 years ago. It was in June, right? So I don't anticipate back-to-back offensive outputs like that. I think that Teddy's going to be up to that for sure. But yeah, it's again, I don't want to focus so much on the travel part, but it is just such a big storyline for tonight. Like, this doesn't happen. I know last year, championship weekend, if you recall, there was the Air Canada strikes. There was some concern that maybe some teams weren't going to make it, and there was but they all made it on time. Everything got off. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this, where, a game had to be pushed back, and we were even wondering if the team would make it on time, right? So this is an anomaly in itself, but I think it's a good adversity and a good reminder of what can happen when you travel. Winnipeg already knows they want home advantage. You guys want home advantage. I know that. And this should be the final reminder of, not only do we want to play in front of our home crowd and do we want to be in our own beds, we don't want to have to play with a schedule where we don't know when we're going to play, or if we're going to get there, or if we're going to make our flight, or if our flight is going to get canceled. Who knows how long this WestJet strike goes for, but that's going to affect things too. So, not to get too newsy on this, but it's going to be a good reminder here. And I think the guys are fired up, and more so just because of what happened when Vancouver was here last time, right? I think this is a redemption game. I think that's how it's going to be treated. We'll see how it goes. Stack High Tide, they didn't get you to remote in and call the game. Shame. Insiders, though, we were talking about it, just wasn't able to get it done. So yeah, they had to get a color commentary. I can't remember who it is, but they got a new color commentary guy. Their backup reporters filling in for Chris, but all talented people, so they're going to be fine. Appreciate you, Cam. Yeah, no, I would love to. I would have loved to, but it was too last notice. Like, I was talking to Chris Wiggins last night, and we were like, well, what if I get, I was looking for flights. Like, can I get there by, 2:30 Pacific time or 2:00 Pacific time for this? And it wasn't going to work out. And they just had to do what they had to do. It's the craziest thing I think I've been a part of, or indirectly been a part of, in the CEBL, my time here in the 4 years. But yeah, hey, first time for everything. John McTavish says Tilly needs to bring the fire like last game, control the motion. Man, I just want to take that whole performance from Jeremiah Tillman Jr. and just put it in the Louvre. Like, I've been thinking about that, and I know Xavier Moon played phenomenal, and this is not to take away from Moon, man. He played so well. So well. But Jeremiah Tillman Jr. doesn't have a backup. And what I mean by that is Xavier Moon and Teddy Allen, are 1-2 punch on the guards, right? Both can score. Teddy's still your primary guy, but Teddy has an off night. Xavier Moon picks it up, gets, just shy of 30 points, and you're still kind of okay. We've seen too many times this year, where Tillman gets in foul trouble. And, and I've said this time and time again, his stats don't pop because a lot of times he's battling by himself for those rebounds. He finds himself in the fight with the bigs. He needs that support from his guards on the defensive boards, particularly. But half the time, he doesn't play because he's got 3 fouls in the second quarter, right? 4 fouls early in the third. And, they're trying to play him in sparingly. He's been fouled out of games. What we saw in that Ottawa game was peak Jeremiah Tillman Jr. It was like a career night on so many fronts, blocks, rebounds. I don't know. There's a whole bunch. But the 6 block shots to me were crazy. And, Dave Crook and I were talking about it on the broadcast. Like, that guy got credited for 6 blocks, but there might have been more. Like, Simon Hildebrand had a couple too. Simon Hildebrand played phenomenal too. Totally overshadowed despite the fact he scored the game winner. And I'm glad he did score the game winner to get a little bit of spotlight on that. But yeah, Jeremiah Tillman Jr., Simon Hildebrand stepped up. Simon's thing is his role changes game to game. And his consistency on the offensive side of the game can shift. So I think the key here now is, can he do this again tonight? It doesn't have to be, exactly like it was yesterday, but can you get into double-digit scoring? Can you get 7 or 8 rebounds? Can you get draw an offensive charge or just disrupt shots that are creating, rebounds for your team to get? Like that. That's what I want to see. Could he work on that screen? Could he hit those couple of shots to keep the defense honest, right? Like that's what I'm interested to see from Simon Hildebrand. If he can do that, this is a really dangerous team. But I've said it again, or I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you have Xavier Moon and Teddy Allen and Jeremiah Tillman Jr., even with the foul trouble, like, this is a really good team. DJ Burns has played well as well. Like, everything is going really well despite those 2 losses. And doesn't it feel a little lighter now that they won that game against Ottawa? Do you not feel like there's like a weight off your shoulders? They finally, they ended the streak of 2, and it almost feels like it didn't happen, right? Like, that's what I mean about this league. It just feels like, oh man, 2 games towards the end of the season in a race for first, and you'd think they were fighting for their playoff lives, right? That's the emotion that goes into the CBL season. So if you can build that with a 2-game win streak, 1 win at home, 1 away, you kind of feel prepared for anything. Because even if you win tonight, if you want to get to the championship, you are going to have to play on the road. And if you play on the road, the tricky thing about a best of 3 is if you play on the road and you lose that game, there's a ton of pressure on you in game 2. And then it just replicates in game 3. So you want to win that game on the road too if you were to get that far. Again, I don't want to speak in hypotheticals. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. They got to win that game on Thursday, but they also need to win tonight. I think this is a very important game for them on a number of fronts. But more than the result, it's how they play. I honestly, if you don't want them to lose, but if they lose in a close game where the defense was on point, if Vancouver was getting some lucky bounces and they earned that win, but everybody was playing their role, you can build on that going into Thursday. You want to win, but there's also some things within it now because you're not playing for you. In Ottawa being in Edmonton, they need to win. There's no details in the game where they're worried about building for the playoffs. They have to get there. But the benefit for Winnipeg is they're already there and they're already getting the home game. Like, their schedule is set for Thursday. They know where they're playing. They can get into their routines. Like, as soon as this game's over, they flip the page and they look over to Thursday. But in this game, there's a lot of things that they have to get figured out. in terms, or not even figured out, but get momentum, get some rhythm. Xavier Moon's played great, but even he'll say, like, I'm still learning some of my players and how they do it, right? And where they want to be, where they want the ball. Tilly's 22 ties for his third highest CBL scoring output. Thanks, Stat Guy Ty. Hey, are we ready for Stat Guy Ty stat of the day? Stat of the day. Teddy has scored at least 16 points every game after scoring single digits in the league. Stat Guy Ty MVP. Thank you for that. So maybe that gives you a little bit of relief if you're worried about that. I see there's some more viewers coming in. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Like, subscribe if you can. Have those notifications on. You can follow me at Joey Slattery TV on Instagram. The Target Score Podcast Instagram is at Target Score Pod. Make sure you're following. Like, share. The more we can grow this community, the better it is. I love that we're here day after day, game after game, hashing it all up beforehand and breaking it all down afterwards. I'll be back tonight with the post-game show. We're going to go a few more minutes here simply because the game is coming up in half an hour. So, if you guys have any questions, I'm trying to go through the comments as I talk. So I apologize if I'm not getting to them as quickly as I'd like. Here, 1 second. Andrew, what's up? Also, for those watching on Instagram, hit that link. There's a URL there that'll bring you right to YouTube. It's just easier to watch on YouTube. But if you're just listening, all good. But it's a lot more fun on the YouTube side. But happy to have you along wherever you're watching. So Andrew says, just transferred from Insta to here. So I missed what he said about Tilly, but I'm assuming he was praising him. Your assumption is quite correct, Andrew. I was very much praising Jeremiah Tillman Jr. Till Monster is what he was in that game. We didn't see Ted Poole, but we saw Till Monster, and it was a monster of a game. And we were just saying that if he can replicate that, let's be fair, he had a career night. He's not going to replicate that every night, but if he can come close to where he was, the biggest thing is staying healthy, or not healthy, staying out of foul trouble, I should say. Getting some help from his guards. It just frees him up so much. The thing that blew my mind with Jeremiah Tillman Jr. too is, like, I think he had 7 assists. His facilitation from the key is phenomenal. Like, if you're only going to have one true big on your team, how much of a luxury is it that it's the most elite big man in the league, in my opinion? And I don't think I'm being biased. I know I watch him more than anybody, and I see him live, and I know his personality and his character. But what he's been doing is, that last game particularly, has been phenomenal. And he's had flashes of it, but he put it all together against Ottawa. So if he can do that again, I don't know if he's going to have 6 blocks, but my goodness, the scouting report is out on him that he protects that rim. So if you're going to go there, I don't care if you're Mitch Creek or, I don't know, Jarkel Joyner, Shamar Givens, that new Zimmerman guy that they signed, you're going to be met at the rim, and it's going to be a tough play to finish. So, yeah, no, we were 100% praising Jeremiah Tillman Jr. The Tilly man had it done there last game, and I think tonight he is motivated. He looked motivated. All I was saying was I didn't want to take anything away from Xavier Moon, but as I watched the game back, I think Xavier Moon had a lot of success. We talked about Teddy Allen having the success because of Xavier Moon. I think Xavier Moon had a lot of success because of Jeremiah Tillman Jr. and vice versa. Man, he was scoring. His field goal percentage is always solid. He's not a guy that misses very often, but he was getting to those rebounds on both ends of the floor, protecting the rim, getting teammates involved. They got him involved early. That's another thing I'm looking for tonight. Like, he had the first field goal of the game, and maybe like 2 of the first 3. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he was activated early. And then he got his touch, and he did not look back. So yeah, it was great. Silver Tip Trilla, good to see you, buddy. Team has to continue to play with continuity. The Mike Taylor teams of past loved going into lulls where there would be multiple 4 or 5 minute scoring droughts. They need to keep playing with pace. This is a totally different makeup, right, under Mike Rainbow. And I'm a fan of Mike Taylor. I really liked Mike Taylor. This is nothing personal against him, but his style and the players that he had just didn't work out last year. I think that was the biggest thing. It was kind of like signing stars, and it was to the point where I almost feel like, hearing from you guys, there was like star fatigue. It's like, okay, another star, but where are the wins, right? And, this is a market that's tough to play in or coach in. I remember the fire Mike Taylor signs. It was wild. And part of me thinks Mike Taylor loved it because, he loved the passionate fan base, and I know he loved it here. He was a great coach for that, the first era of this team, and getting the word out. He was charismatic, but he was very offensive minded, and if things weren't going well on offense, they didn't really have much to fall back on. This team's built from the back, and from the back I mean defense, and they get their offense started on from their defense, right? Getting those turnovers, and that's what they did not do against Vancouver. Vancouver flipped the script that last game, right? What we expected Winnipeg to do, Vancouver was doing. Shamar Givens got into it, right? He was getting his steals. He was getting his transition opportunities. That's the stuff that they got to get back to here against Vancouver tonight. Andrew's saying Ottawa has the tiebreaker against both Montreal and Niagara, right? Yes, definitely Montreal. But Niagara's locked up third spots. That guy Ty will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Niagara's already locked up third. This is for the fourth and final playoff spot, so they would be playing Scarborough. And so don't mean to go off track here, but let's preview both games. So I know we're all going to be watching at least the highlights when it's all said and done. But I think, and I said this during the broadcast, I don't know how many times, Ottawa's built for. I know they lost, and they've lost 4 straight. But if they win this game tonight, watch out, man. In the East, I honestly think that they have a really good shot. They've beaten Scarborough twice, home and away. They're not intimidated to go play, in Scarborough. And let's be real, man. That was the one team that Scarborough did not intimidate at all. In fact, they got under Scarborough's skin. I think that would be the best possible scenario, first round matchup would be with Ottawa and Scarborough. I think that from a 1-4, right? In terms of having the first place team. If Montreal gets in, I don't believe they have Quincy Guerrier. And if you don't have Quincy Guerrier, what do you have? He's the heart and soul of that team, right? From my understanding, I think it's Germany he's off to. Again, it's just out of the two teams, Ottawa is the one that deserves to be in the playoffs, in my opinion. And you've heard me. You were all. I see all the names on all the shows. I've talked about this on the record. I really like Montreal. I thought Ottawa and Montreal are the two most dangerous teams, and then Niagara slowly started chipping away, and then you're starting to see that all right, this is the champions. They are the champions. They're the defending 2-time champions, right? And they're playing like it, and they understand this is where you have to peak, and they seem to be peaking right now. I think the East is less predictable than the West. I'm not saying that, the West is a sure thing, but if Saskatoon and Edmonton won those games and that became the conference final, I think we'd all be very shocked. I don't think I'd be as shocked if it was Niagara and Ottawa. And I actually think it would be a great game. And one that I wish were a series, because Brampton has been up and down all year. Yeah, they have the second spot. They've locked in the second spot. And then Scarborough has just been Scarborough the whole time. So yeah, no, this has been it's going to be interesting in the East, but in the West, it's funny because in the East they're trying to figure out the last 2 spots, and for here it was it was the top 2 spots we weren't able to figure out. They locked it in. But yeah, and then see, Stat Guy Ty see, I don't even have to explain this. We got Stat Guy Ty. Hey, Stat Guy Ty gets in the comments, lets us all know what's going on. This is from the Jen here. Sorry, she says her name. That's helpful too. If you want me to get the right name, just say it in the comments. That's awesome. Keep it up, Joey. Jen here, Sea Bears lifer, section 119. Shout out section 119. Right, Cam? That's opposite side of you. He's section 109. Just wanted to reference things said from yesterday's post-game live. Okay, so this is going to be a thing. Don't lose hope. Weather the storm. Show some resilience. Coach Mike Rainbow, stay together. Xavier Moon, want the ball. Jeremiah Tillman Jr. Let's go Sea Bears. Yeah, I love it, man. It's you can do it. Yeah, Chad's, and that's the other thing. Expect Jackie Moon to make his return on the first game of the year. Charles Posthumous, the father of Chad Posthumous, well known for his costume, his Jackie Moon costume from Semi Pro. Some of the younger ones don't know what I'm talking about. Go watch that movie immediately. I kind of looked like Jackie Moon in high school playing basketball. Fun fact. Where are we here? I just want to make sure. Yeah, and Tevin Brown. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot to bring him. Thanks, XO204. He was another guy who had a great game against Winnipeg. I'm just not sure if he's going to be the guy. Like, he takes some bad shots too, because they had a chance to win the game after Winnipeg to kind of really put this race away. He took some awful shots, including the last shot of the game for Vancouver in target time for the win. So yeah, but that is likely going to be their five going out. Where I want to see here, I had a couple lined up. Smirkio. Scarborough is a bunch of cocky divas. I remember when they were all up in Ottawa's comments being salty losers. You're right, which is probably why they don't want to lose, Smirks. That's like my thing is like they don't really win or lose with grace. You hear from them either way, whether it's in the game, post game, or in the comments on the post. But like, dude, popcorn, buddy. Like, this is what I want. Like, that's what playoff basketball is about, man. Like, I hope we get a little taste of that tonight here in Vancouver with Winnipeg. Like, I want to see the emotions go. I don't think the Sea Bears thrive in that environment, but you can get Vancouver on that, right? If you can get Vancouver riled up a little bit, and believe me, I've been there for the playoffs covering a game. It was the single most hostile environment I've been in my sports career. Again, in other sports that I've covered, you're not on the playing surface at the end of the game after a very controversial ending. But dude, that was like one of the loudest places I've ever been. So if the Sea Bears can silence that, like the way Calgary did in the conference finals last year, like that. It's entertaining, man. It is absolutely entertaining. One sec here. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to scroll through. You guys are great on the comments. Thanks for bringing it all day here. John Knight the third. Yeah, there's this is they don't have their main guys like Samuel or Tyree Samuel's not in the lineup tonight. That is it is an advantage for sure. I mean, he's one of the better Canadians, one of the better big men in the league, but he's not been playing that well this year. So, I'm going to go ahead and say that, this is a team that Winnipeg should beat. I think that's the other element of this that we haven't really talked about. Winnipeg has everybody. This is the team. Like, this is the one that they built. This is what they envisioned. I know Mike Taylor would have loved to have had this team last year, a team that didn't go away to Summer League and, wasn't leaving early for European opportunities. I mean, yeah, the Sea Bears lost Trey Brown, but DJ Burns has stepped up like crazy. Jelani Watson-Gale, I'm interested to see how his usage moving forward, because he struck me as more of an insurance policy if Xavier Moon wasn't ready to play. But again, they're guard heavy. And if you've ever watched a Mike Rainbow team, stat guy Ty would know this because, he does a lot of stat keeping for U Sports as well. Mike Rainbow's best players, at least in recent years since I've been in Winnipeg, have been guards. And he gets the most out of smaller big men, right? The teams that he puts together, like the Winnipeg Westmen, overachieve every year. They're not a big school. They've been perennial national contenders. They've been to national tournaments. I know a lot of you know the name Sean Moranin, right? Sean Moranin wasn't courted by anybody, recruited by anybody in university. Like, he went and worked at Enterprise for a bit, had a relationship with Mike Rainbow, and he turned into one of the premier players, one of the all-time greats in Westman history, and one of their more successful runs at the University of Winnipeg. This is what he does. So as much as we don't have the bigs, right? And I know a lot of people throughout the comments throughout the year, like, oh, we got to get another big. We have to get someone with Jeremiah Tillman Jr. It would have been nice, but Mike Rainbow and the way he builds his team, I think he's very comfortable with the roster he has. Trey McGowan's, I anticipate to have a big game tonight. It's been a little bit slow for him. He had to take his lumps because of this whole import rule where he had to sit for a couple of games, came out, hasn't been as hot as he's been, before those two games that he sat. But I think tonight, the way we saw Winnipeg miss him in that game because of the size, I anticipate Trey McGowan's to come out of as Chris Wiggins put it, an effing cannon. Because I think he has a point to prove. He's got to play physical with these guards. And if he can do that, man, like, this is going to be a dangerous team. Do I expect a 33-point win like we saw the first time in Winnipeg? Absolutely not. Is it possible? Yes. But I think with the stakes on the line now and, Vancouver settled in a little bit, but Vancouver has not been consistent. They had a real opportunity after that win in Winnipeg to go out and put this to bed, and they didn't. Now we find ourselves in a dead heat tie in the last game of the year we kind of anticipated this throughout the season. If you watch the Target Score Winnipeg Weekly podcast, we even at the preseason, we're kind of thinking like that might come down to that game. Not knowing that, Kyle Julius could get suspended and not be the coach halfway through the season and all that other fun stuff. And Mitch Creek going back and forth. Will he play? Will he not? I mean, Vancouver's been, storyline, like the mystery storyline of the year this year. It's been a wild ride for them, but they've not been very consistent. And the thing with Winnipeg is when they've had the inconsistencies, they don't last very long. The start of the season was 4-4. Win one, lose one, win one, lose one. Lost a bunch on the road, won a bunch at home. Then it kind of flipped a little bit. They're in a good position. They've seen all of the situations. I don't think they're going to be taking this more seriously than they have to. Oh my gosh, what happened? What? Stat Guy Ty? What's this? He's the highlighted player of the game. This is news to me. All right. Geez, Stat Guy Ty's got the inside scoop on Joey Slattery. We've got to put that one in the Hall of Fame. Okay. But anyway, Trey McGowan's in the playoffs is a guy that he has to, he's going to be dependent on. They need that kind of style of play that Trey McGowan's brings, which is absolute, he's a tough guy. He's a finesse finisher at the rim. We've seen him dunk. We've seen him do the layups. But yeah, this is a team that is guard heavy, but they have a variety of guards that can do different things. You've got your Teddy Allens. You've got your Xavier Moons. They play totally different styles of games, and when they come together, it's beautiful to watch. Where we go. Shame such a big game in a growing league gets pushed off a national broadcast. John, I agree, man. That was a tough one for I think all of us, because especially this game, it will be the best game that has been on national TV, I think, this year, because there's no upset. It's just the two best teams going at it for stakes on the line. But unfortunately, the way it works, CBC has their national news that I guess starts at 6:00 Eastern time. They can't go into that. It's their, the bread and butter over at CBC. So they just had to take it off completely because they weren't able to reschedule, which is why I thought they would move it to Monday. But that wasn't in the cards, unfortunately. Here, XO204. Vancouver has a different look, but I'm sure the pieces they have will thrive. I have no doubt. And this is the thing, man, going back to the Mitch Creek thing, Mitch Creek drives a culture there, right? Everything changed for Vancouver when Mitch Creek showed up. This is a team that is still very talented. We saw that because they beat Winnipeg in Winnipeg, which is not easy to do. And that was, as things were just kind of getting a little, people were starting to sweat a little bit. They were the ones that made everybody sweat with that win. So yeah, it's not going to be a cakewalk against Vancouver. And the other thing that's tough with this too, it makes it harder to scout when you have these teams that are going through, all these changes, and different players, because they bring different looks. There's a new coach, right? That was another thing the last time they played Vancouver. It was a new coach, even though he was the assistant. He's putting in his new styles, new ways of rolling out players for sure. So yeah, here, Stat Guy Ty's got the inside scoop. So he's telling us Gibbons, Brown, Pandy, Zimmerman, Creek starting versus Allen, Hildebrandt, Moon, Osborne, and Tillman. Knight, Mutabazi rather, Eddie, Notice, Mulder, and JWG's back in. That's what I figured. Watson, Gale, Krause, Acott, Filowich, and Burns. Okay. So this is interesting, Stat Guy Ty. If I'm reading this correctly, I think they're pulling a little Vancouver here. Vancouver didn't want to share if Mitch Creek was going to be here. The little gamesmanship. They're not going to see Trey McGowan's one more time. I like this. I like this. And JWG sat out a couple now, and I think he's raring to go. He's had his time to rest and get settled. He might have a big game tonight. All right. It's weird that the Sea Bears would put out their matchup, though. Shamar Givens against Trey McGowan. I think that's it's a little weird because you think they would have the inside scoop. But hey, man, no one has the database quite like Stat Guy Ty. Oh yeah, here, Andrew. Okay, wait. Hold up. Vancouver coach got suspended, or were they talking about Calgary making it right now? So no, sorry. So the last time they were in when Vancouver was in Winnipeg, Kyle Julius got into it with a fan courtside. The fan wasn't there for a few games. Julius ended up getting 3-game suspension. And during that time, it was announced that he actually signed a deal in China. So he's a head coach out there. But in this story, it all comes back. He's still with the team. He's still the general manager and still has his, finger in the pie, so to speak. And, he's still the main chef in the kitchen, and the head coach is his old assistant. So I imagine there's there's some communication there. He actually joined Vancouver post-game live a few weeks ago. I think it was the first game after he had moved to China, and kind of shared, he seemed very passionate, knew what was going on. So I still think Kyle Julius is here. And that's another drive that we have to take into account with Vancouver. Vancouver has been on the doorstep for 2 years now. Pretty much, it would have been 3. They were hosting the year, the first year, and they were awful that year in 2023, which was kind of the jinx with the teams that hosted. But when Mitch Creek got there with Kyle Julius, like, this is a team that went to the finals, got upset, controversial end to the West final last year, probably, or the West or semifinal rather. Didn't even get to Winnipeg. Calgary took that spot, and I think if you don't have a bye, Vancouver is very much in that final. I don't think, I think that 100% becomes. I should have put my thing on Do Not Disturb here. I'm getting some notifications here. Give me 1 second. So there we go. But yeah, like I think if we don't have the bye, like Winnipeg doesn't have the bye last year, I think Vancouver's in that, and I think it might be a totally different story. This is a team who knows its window has been open for a couple of years. I don't think you see Mitch Creek back here again. You might, but I wouldn't bank on it. I think he was a Kyle Julius guy. I think he's back here to kind of finish the job for Kyle Julius. And if he can, I think that motivation alone is going to push these guys through for many years. I know it's kind of tough to think because for more than half the time that Winnipeg's been around, Niagara's won all the championships, and Scarborough. But Niagara was that team for a very long time, knocking on the door, couldn't break it down. Getting to finals, conference finals, getting upset, and the what am I trying to say here? The narrative was they can't win the big game. This is kind of where Vancouver's at right now, and Kyle Julius had made no bones about it when I talked to him last time they were in Winnipeg before the whole thing happened. They weren't worried about their regular season record this year. Scarborough keeps talking about they want that record, they want to win 20 games, hold it. All the power to you. Those teams don't always win the championship. And Vancouver found that out last year, because right now they're tied for that record with Vancouver at 19 wins. And he said, you have to be, you don't win the championship with a regular season record. You just got to get in there. They were worried about peaking at the right time. They have some guys. They still haven't really had that consistency with the roster. We haven't seen that consistency. But again, as I've said before, once the playoff starts, it's a whole new ball game. Nothing matter what you did. That goes for the Sea Bears included. Everything you did, the 54-point game from Teddy, done. Means nothing. If he's got to go out there and he might have to give you a hard 20, and that might be all you're going to get in playoff basketball, and it's got to be enough. And they got to do the job on defense too. So, Smirky, Stat Guy Tie is the database. I get that made on a t-shirt. Stat Guy Tie is the database. What's this one here? Also, when I was sitting with my aunt in Langley Event Center in June, I told her and another Sea Bears fan I saw there that it will come down to this game. This is what I'm saying, Andrew. Like, right? You kind of felt it from the start. Like, you just knew these had the rosters to be the 2 top teams, and it might come down to this. This is popcorn, man. I really hope that we get the game we're expecting tonight. I hope it's a good game, and it'd be nice to see Winnipeg get that home all the way through and not have to worry about what the other, what's happening in the other game in terms of who wins or who loses, because I don't think Edmonton and the Mamba are any slouches either. I don't think it's as tight as the East, but you can't sleep on anybody here for sure. So anyway, man, we're at this for 50 minutes almost. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you so much. The game is going to be on at 4:00 our time, so in 9 minutes. CBC Gem, CBC Sports YouTube, CBL YouTube, CBL Plus. I'm going to have the post game coming up shortly after, probably a little quicker after the game this time, simply because, 1 sec, what does this one say? The Montreal choke job and the loss to Brampton just set the script setting today up. It was meant to be, Stat Guy Tie. It was absolutely meant to be. So yeah, this is going to be a fun one regardless. I hope you all enjoy it. And I will have the post game coming up shortly after. Again, I'll probably try to get to it as quickly as possible. I have a couple things to set up beforehand, but we'll see you all then. So the link is up there. Make sure you have your notifications on, like, subscribe, as I said before, if you haven't already. Game starts in a few minutes. Enjoy that game. We will see you when it's all wrapped up on Target Score post game live. Enjoy the game, everybody.